with Brooke. Yeah.
Talking about coming on the screen, we are now live.
Good. Good.
So last night was rather interesting from the angle that whatever I was saying last night, we had. It turned out that we had over 100 odd people. We had 115 odd people eventually watching and watch what we did last night on YouTube.
Wow.
Usually it's like it's just like in double figures. You get like 13 people, then watch back we get like another 20, and then but last night for some reason um it was quite a I thought it was quite a dry subject, but they all actually really liked it. So we're going to crack on,
Okay.
and I think before we go any further, oh yes, before we go any further, we've got an article of the week from Goff, which I'm going to read out every single word. And the reason why I'm going to read out every single word because I'm massively into this, and I haven't actually read through it all yet, because I thought, yeah, let's enjoy it with everybody else hearing this as well. So, but before we do that, I want to know, Goff, is there any other news from you?
Apart from that, you're not going to do that now, are you? The Roman find.
Yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay. Because I wanted to ask you a quick question about that, about the word basilica. I always associated it with religion.
Yes.
But it isn't, is it? It's more than that.
It's basically basically, if you want to go etymologically, looking at the meaning of words and the word basilica, I think what you need to be thinking about is the actual structure, which I think is the question. So obviously, it's said that the word basilica is the word used for a Christian church or you know a Orthodox church, isn't it? They use the word basilica, right?
Yes.
However, if you want to think about the origins of Christianity, lots of it derives from the Roman era and Roman legislative buildings. And when you think about the Great Basilica of Rome or Byzantium or whatever, it stems from this very building, the basilica, because the basilica was the be all and end all of structures in Rome. It was the beating heart of the city. It was where justice was administered. It was where your main dignitaries would hold court in a city or a town. It's where it's where statutes would be read from the steps to tell people that what was going on. The magistrati ran the town. So in a way, if you want to go into what that means, you think then about Christianity being the be all and end all of the beating heart of Rome, which would be after about the mid 300s into the 400s. So there's a direct link between the word basilica and Christianity. But the word basilica and the purpose and uses of basilica obviously go back hundreds and hundreds of years before the establishment of Christianity anyway.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
That was quite a succinct question. Right, Pat.
Well, I was listening to the radio and then dinner was ready, so I had to turn the radio off.
How
But
dare you?
before I turned it off, they said, coming up is news of a great finding, a Roman finding in London.
That's it.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is, what finding it was. I didn't stay to, I left and it was somewhere in the news announcement on the Radio 4.
And do you know what?
Let me know.
We'll go with the article of the week. So because if we go with the news story, we're going to probably get lost in what's going on in Gaza and all the bloody rest of it. So so what we'll do, we'll go straight to the news article, which I've actually, funnily enough, already got ready. And there is some nice illustrations on it. I may be the one that
is it in London?
Yeah, it's in London. Yeah.
Oh, maybe
Now
that's
again, this basilica was the beating heart of Londinium, and I will be using it as a piece for my daily Roman sites in Britain. So I do my Roman era remains in Britain. I try to do it every day, but it's sometimes it's not possible. But right, okay, so there it is. So there it is. It's fresh off the press. It's within the last few hours. Beginnings of Roman London discovered in office basement excavated by the Museum of London Archaeology Service. And there's that wall. And you know, when I see that wall there, it reminds me of visiting the wall at Cardiff Castle when I was a child. To be honest with you, I used to have I used to I was very much in love with the wall at Cardiff Castle, the Roman wall in Cardiff Castle, because the stones were exactly like this, right? So this is the wall of the basilica, and it's you know, the wall is 2,000 years old and was part of the Roman London's first basilica. Now, the one thing I can say about the basilica, if it's not in here, is that eventually the basilica was so huge that by the 300s they demolished it because they didn't have any use for it because it was just too big, right? Anyway, so I don't know if this refers to this because I haven't really read through it all. So a discovery underneath the basement of an office block has been described as one of the most important pieces of Roman history unearthed in the city of London. So you can go along with the Billingsgate bathhouse in London. You can go along with the Mithraeum in London. You actually, can I just tell you this? There are bits of there's bits of Roman London Wall. There's one in a basic car park basement. There's another somewhere else under London in another office space, right? So there's loads of bits of wall in basements and stuff, you know, City Wall in London, and you know, obviously the Billingsgate Baths and lots of other localities where there's bits of Roman remains. And obviously I think if you go to the Guildhall in London as well, there's a bit of the amphitheatre. I can remember that being excavated in the 1980s. If I've still got the article somewhere, maybe archaeologists have found a substantial piece, and there we go. And it's as I mentioned earlier on, it's the beating hub of Londinium political, economic, administrative decisions. It is where everything happened. So the excavation has so far revealed sections of stone wall that form the base of the basilica, which would have been 2.5 stories high, maybe higher. The site, 2.5 stories high. I didn't know you could get half a story. The site, you can't get half a story. No, it's 3 stories. That's wrong. You can't get half a story. It's 3 stories. Right, I'm sorry. Anyway, the site, which will eventually be open to the public. So what you've got there, they're actually decided as part of the office development to actually have this as a little museum, so people will be able to see this wall. And do you know what? Right, if I wasn't so anti-London, i.e., you go to London, it takes you 12 hours to get from the outside into the inside. Right, I would go and see it, love to see all this, you know, but it's such a fag to go and see all these bits. But I really would love to see this. I really would, alongside everything else. So and there's also a bit of Roman city wall going through the centre of the Tower of London as well. So archaeologists found the Roman masonry under the concrete floor of the office. So there it is, big chunk of concrete there from the past. This is very significant. I would completely agree. So this building will tell us so much about the origins of London, why London grew, and why it was chosen as the capital of Britain. It's amazing. And there you go, those blocks there, that's just so Roman standard blocks. They really, really are. There are different blocks in you get the big Kent flagstone blocks in other areas and so on, and you've got all these similarities, these really nice chunky stones, right? Really love them. Typical Roman. There you go, limestone from Kent. And I think they are the Kent flagstones. Anyway, the site was discovered underneath the location known as 85 Grace Church Street. Earlier archaeologists investigations revealed the ancient basilica's approximate location, but they weren't exactly sure. But what they did on the 3rd attempt, digging between the filing cabinets, they struck lucky. So you can see a huge chunk of Roman masonry And it's incredible that it survived so well. And we're absolutely thrilled that there's so much here. So there you go. You've got a tile there, with the maker's mark there, and you've got the wonderful comb work on here as well. And again, you're saying a tile and the three lines next to it. Yeah, there we go. So you've got that's the maker's mark there on the left, and obviously those lines there. You've got this as a definite piece of Roman tile. On the wall, there we go, limestone. So it's obviously Kent flagstone, and formed an imposing building, 40 meters long, 20 meters wide, and 12 meters high. Now, when I think 12 meters high, if you're talking about 3 meters per floor, right? That's four floors, isn't it? That makes sense. Anyway, other artifacts have been found too, including a roof tiled imprint with the stamp of the official. Oh, that must be it then. That's got to be it. And then obviously there you go. You've got the Roman Forum there, and there's the Basilica. And this is the area they're excavating. So they're on that big area there. So we're excavating part of it. So the rest of the basilica goes under the road. So the Basilica was part of London's Forum, a social and commercial hub with a courtyard that was about the size of a football pitch. So big area. The Basilica is the town hall. Yeah, that's basically what I was describing. And then in front, you've got this big area, marketplace, court area, where edicts would be read out. It's the place you came to do business, as I've explained. Court decisions, that's where the magistrata were. It was built around AD 80, just a few decades after the initial Roman invasion. And there it is now. But the first Basilica Forum were only in use for about 20 years. They were replaced by a much larger second Forum, perhaps reflecting how quickly the city was growing in size and importance. So, that Basilica at the back there, at the back on the left-hand side, that was absolutely huge by AD 30 and AD 30, AD 300. And obviously they demolished it because it was obviously too big. So discovery has meant that they've changed their plans. But the interesting thing, the development property, Hirtstein properties, have thought, right, what we're going to do is going to be part of our, display as part of the architectural plan for the work that they're proceeding with to develop the site. Simple things like the columns have had to literally move position, so you're not destroying all these special stones that were found in the ground. So, all right, so they found columns, okay, and so as not to disturb what's there, fewer lifts can be installed, and this has meant that the team has had to reduce the height of the building. I would say it's worth it because you're going to get people visiting the site, and it's a brilliant thing to actually see people using and enjoying the space, moving through the public hall and down to see the remains will be absolutely incredible. And I agree with that. It's part of what they're doing in London now. They've lost so much history and archaeology in places like London that they're now starting to believe that what they do have left is worthwhile showing it off to the public. And so latest piece of Roman history, parts of the amphitheatre have mentioned that under the Guildhall. I do know my stuff, folks. Obviously, the Temple of Mithras underneath the Bloomsburg office, and the City of London Corporation, saying this is a great thing. The fact that Roman London is beneath your feet is frankly quite a remarkable emotional experience. You can actually see and visualize how Roman London would have been in those times. And then you can walk outside and you can say, now look at the skyscrapers, now look at the office blocks. This is progress, but at the same time, progress combined with preservation. So you're able to see the Roman archaeology, and that's what they envisage it's going to be like, and sort of like a pseudo look at what this was like. And yeah, you've got the glass floor, so you're actually looking down on it. That's how they're going to do it. They're going to look down. This is one thing they're doing now. They're doing lots of glass floors in places. They're doing the same thing. They found a mosaic recently in Colchester, and what they've done is that so people can see it. That they put a glass, glass there, so you can actually look down at the mosaic on the floor instead of moving it to a museum. Fascinating stuff. So anyway, let's crack on. Really appreciated that. Both of you heard about that, so we needed to sort of do that. And again, the maker's mark there on the left, and you've got the finger marks that those 3 lines. It's saying the 3 lines next to it are the finger marks of the tile maker. So I think they're referring to the finger marks actually of their finger marks there. That's what they are. It's difficult to understand what they're saying there, but that's what they are. The finger marks on the left and the maker's mark on the left. The finger mark on the right and the maker's mark on the left. There you go. I get myself confused. But okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to something rather interesting, but it would be rather interesting. And this has come about because it was suggested, I think, by the wonderful Henry. And it's a wonderful piece of kit going all the way back to prehistoric Britain. Not prehistoric, but yeah, prehistoric Britain, prehistoric Europe, prehistoric Cyprus, prehistoric Greece, prehistoric Scandinavia. This is known as a warp-weighted loom, right? A warp-weighted loom. And it was Henry basically said, why don't we look at textiles in Cyprus? So he thought, right, okay. So warp-weighted loom. This is an advanced piece of technology, and as we were looking at how this works last night, right? It's a very intricate, difficult piece of technology, but I did my best to try and explain it to everybody. But this is then going to create. There we go. Our wonderful textiles. So in other words, that beam at the top, as you're working from top to bottom, you reel that around, right? And you can get quite a long cloth by doing it that way. And you've got these loom weights. So what is massive about these is that you've got these loom weights at the bottom. So whenever archaeologists talk about loom weights, that's what they are. You can have literally hundreds of loom weights for a set loom. And so these warp-weighted looms is a simple and ancient form of loom in which yarns hang freely from a bar. And somebody's just joined us. Is somebody going to add her in?
Yes.
I'll go and add her in. You know what to do. Good.
I did. I diminished her.
Exactly. So where were we? So this is a prehistoric piece of technology, but a massive piece of prehistoric piece of technology that was still being used in parts of Scandinavia up until the 1950s, amazingly enough. So the warp-weighted loom, and you got the idea of the weights at the bottom of the loom, and then these hung freely from the bar. So if we go to the description of this, because there's a little one. Hang on a minute. If we go on a little bit further there, hang on, there. We did have it. Good. There. Components. So basically, this might rest up against the wall of the building. This is usually about 2 meters in length. So if you're gonna use this, for example, in a house, the house needs to be obviously tall enough to actually use this. Now, the reason why this was a revolution is that people usually used a loom on the ground, right? Which you'll what you're trying to create isn't going to be very taut. and the fabric itself is going to be quite weak. And it, if you're doing it on the ground, but if you've got these weights there, it stretches the wool. Now, me and Michelle, we've got a friend that lives in North Wales called Zena, and Zena's got one of these, right? And she's got her own. She she sits in a caravan, right? And she's got her own spinning wheel, and she's she makes her own yarn. She makes her own wool, and then she makes it into the cloth that is actually being created in this warp weighted loom. So bundles of warp threads, those are the threads that that go vertically, and then you've got another thread, or the weft, which actually goes horizontally, right? And we'll explain a little bit more about this technology in a short while. And obviously you've got the loom weights at the bottom to actually keep it taut. So our evidence of this type of technology goes all the way back to the Neolithic period. So it goes into the Neolithic period. It's starting to get really big in the Bronze Age, and is really spread over to Greece, and really starts to spread over to, into the Holy Land and beyond. And then what you've got is that this technology is brought to us from places like Bulgaria and Hungary, right? So this is where we start to see this technology in Neolithics, but it's spreading across Europe. It gets big in Scandinavia. Obviously, there's going to be examples in Great Britain, and we mention this in the context of evidence of these actually being found in Cyprus, which was actually the point and the issue that Henry was actually talking about. So the warp tension needed on a loom is roughly proportionate to the yarn diameter, right? And loom weights must be positioned in an even, level row at the bottom. So basically everything needs to be as taut and equally taut at the same time. Again, this is quite a technique. This is quite technical. So with all the threads hanging nearly straight down, more or less to the floor, but they can't touch the floor, right, for smooth weaving. This means that the shape of a loom weight limits a loom to certain thread counts. And the mass of the loom weight is related to the yarn used. This means that loom weights can be used to calculate the density and other properties of the fabric made on them. Now, I do have hopefully I do have a little video, right, to show you. I'm just going to go on to my my files here. I'm just going to make sure that I've got the video available, right? Spindle wool, where is it? Right, that's me talking there. So if we go with, if I type in, it was actually lined up last night, and we've got a bit of, if we go, hang on, nope, we've got to get to, we've got to get to YouTube a minute, because I was going to show you a video. Video worked really well last night, but for some reason it's not. If we go to, if I type in warp weighted loom, hopefully, oh, there it is. There she is. Now, what's this? Right. Are you able to hear are you able to hear the sound?
No,
No.
no sound.
You didn't hear the sound, right? Okay, I'll explain it. Right, okay, I'll explain it. Right, here we go. So here we go. I will explain what the guy's saying now. So here we go. She passes the thread through, evens it up. She takes a weaving sword and beats it upwards. And she changes her shed, and it separates the tension-led weft. She basically puts the sword in there, and she's got to get rid of bits of extra fluff. she sets the weft thread with the sword, and then she puts the weft back through, as you can see it, and hopefully she'll put the sword back in as she settles that up. So did you get that, guys?
Yeah.
So this is basically the technology, obviously. So she's got the sword in there. So if we go back to, it's quite important this, because this is quite a revolutionary piece of technology, right? And what's revolutionary is the shuttle as it moves through. So if we go back again, so the main thing is to make sure that you're pushing the horizontal weft upwards against the weft going down. Or the yarn going down, or whatever word you want to use. So that pole that you're bringing towards you is actually known as a heddle rod. Okay, so the heddle rod, basically, you bring the heddle rod towards you, and then it separates the weft going down, the yarn going down, the wool going down, or whatever you want to call it, right? So there she's got the sword in there. So she's put the wooden sword in there, and then the shuttle's been placed through. So you've got another weft going through, and then that's being settled again, right? And then you've got the sword in there. So got any bits of fluff are removed, and the sword in there again, and there the separation. So it's basically it's overlapping. That heddle rod moves back and forth, right? And this is basically what you're doing, to create your wonderful length, or your wonderful length of cloth back in the day. Now, the loom weights themselves, these loom weights themselves are key to all of this. Now, obviously, we don't have this technology, the wooden technology, in most instances surviving, unless you're a 9-year-old boy who's allowed to wander around Paphos in Cyprus in 1984, who ends up in the ethnographical museum in Paphos, and wanders around getting fed and treated like a lord. And I get to see this technology when I'm 9 years old, right? Because it's an ethnographical museum. And they've got all this stuff in the museum, obviously not Bronze Age, but what they've got is they've got obviously this sort of an example from the 1800s in there, and you've got these wonderful loom weights at the bottom. So the warp tension needed on a loom is roughly proportionate to the yarn diameter, and loom weights must be positioned evenly. So again, thinking about the history of this technology, the warp weighted loom may have originated way into the Neolithic period. This is a response to people wanting an easier way of making clothing, or tapestries, or rugs, wall hangings, or covers for windows, whatever. So the earliest evidence of warp-weighted looms comes from sites belonging to um, a, a culture that is Hungary, Bulgaria, Serbia, known as the Sarajevo culture. And this type of technology eventually was in Greece by probably about 600 years BC, then spreading northwest throughout Europe, east and west as well, south. And what we do see is that Scandinavian people are massively investing time in this technology. Now, I've got to say something that is very much important, right, to this whole the whole importance of you being able to see this, to clothe people, to make the fabrics where you need of the day in the prehistoric period. This technology is as advanced as being able to make iron. This is as advanced as being able to put drainage in a house. This is advanced as making pottery on a wheel, right? So you can, to clothe people is quite important. I think you'd all agree. So again, this technology is the same technology that we actually see being used from all the way in prehistory, and is still being used in Scandinavia. Scandinavian people really get into this, and the Sami and Norwegian of Norway and Finland are still using this in the 1950s, like a local culture of people. It diminished simply. This technology was still with us up until about the 1600s, and people were still making cloth in this way. And as long as you can turn the beam at the top, the cloth itself can be, well, it can't be endless, but it can be actually, quite some meters in length, right? And it doesn't need to be any stitched together anymore. It's just a long length. This came to an end by coming into the 1700s with the mechanization of the process. So thinking about this.
Well, if I'd come at the beginning and you'd asked me, have you any news today? I could have said, I watched Joanna Lumley in Venice, where they were very famous for making silk, and they wove it on something like this.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well,
Yeah.
There you go, Anne. You could have just told us that if you turned up on time.
Yeah. And it's still being done today, and it costs thousands of euros a meter. Yeah.
Well, actually, our friend in North Wales, Xena, the warrior princess, right? I won't tell you about the story of Xena, but yeah. But anyway, but Xena's now pregnant, and she's a baby's due, and she does videos online, and she's just she shows these videos all the time, and she's quite proud. And Anne's got a point. She's just made something like this on this technology, a warp weighted loom using her wool, right? And Michelle said that she's charging 250 quid for a 2 meter length by 1 meter.
Yeah.
So Anne is dead right. There's when you think about it, there's if we go back, tell you what, if we go back to that video now, you'll be able to understand the video a little bit more. So if we show you that video again, right? I know it's side on. There you go. It takes a weaving sword and beats that. And she's baiting the thread in. She changes the shed and she pushes it back. And the tension is massively important. It's key to this technology. Obviously, you get rid of the extra stuff. Obviously, Xena can do it a lot quicker than this. But when you think about this, it's still quite time consuming, because every time you put the weft through, right, you've got to go through that process for that one action, right? So you could get this really, really quick, right? But if you're having to put the bobbin through, say, 1,000 times, right? This is the process you've got to do for 1,000 times, right? So you can tell this is massively time consuming. However, you make beautiful lengths of cloth. If you've got a building, the question came up yesterday, which was really, really relevant, which I'll go on to now. If you've got like this makes quite sound chauvinistic, but it's not. Most illustrations are of women doing this, right? And the reason why this is something you do indoors, right? Now, if it, and I've got to be really, because it's a really complicated issue, right? If you're showing women illustrated in doing this in Scandinavian society, it doesn't mean to say that women are actually doing it. It means to say that people who do work inside are seen to be doing feminine activities, whether you're male or female. So I've got to be very specific on that. If you're outside, working in a field, or you're outside fighting, right? Whether you're male or female doesn't the case. Male men are supposed to be working outside, whether you're male or female, right? That's Scandinavian society. That's why you get shield maidens going out to battle in Scandinavian society. They're not classed as women; they're classed as men. And so I've gone off on a tangent there. But if anyone ever watched the Vicky the Viking series back in the 1980s, right, you will know that Vicky the Viking was called a boy by her dad, but Vicky the Viking was a girl. But she went on board on board a ship with her dad, and her dad called him a boy, right? So there we go. Let's not go any further with that one. But anyway, the point is, if you've got this, which is 2 meters, it's resting against the back of the building, right? If this is 2 meters tall, then you've got to think that the buildings would have been at least 2 meters tall around the outside, right? So meaning that people reconstruct these buildings and they're quite low lying, right? Then that's going to be wrong if they're using something like a warp weighted loom, right? And the point to be made, again, back in the archaeology, I've made this point a few times now, that if you find, for example, loads of these loom weights, right, they're part of a warp weighted loom. And therefore, if you find a load of these in buildings, then they've got warp weighted looms in their buildings, and you can define the height of the buildings around the outside of at least 2 meters tall by the fact that you found warp weighted looms. There's no point having a loom which is 1 meter tall, right? And the reason why, you've seen the woman doing the process there, right? You need to be able to stand. It needs to be body height, right? And also, if you've got something that's just 1 meter off the ground, right, the weight's not really going to pull the weft very taut, so it's not going to be very practical. So it's got to be at least 2 meters tall, right? So again, this is all really, really important stuff to think about. And obviously, looking at these weights and looking at these particular weights. So it's in a near vertical position, and the weaver, and when, again, somebody asked last night, they said, could you have, so obviously we've got an idea of the height. So when you think about this, the height itself is 2 meters, and you could probably argue it's probably a little bit more taller than that, but 2 meters at least, right? Could you have more than one person operating something like this, right? And the answer is, it depends on how heavy that our rod is there, right? And remember, our rod is known as a heddle rod. So if it depends on the weight and the length of the heddle rod, right? But the fabric's going to get more and more distorted the longer the heddle rod is. So it's probable maximum that you're going to get something of a width of maybe I don't know, 2, 3 foot, 4 meters, quite long, wide, right? So it's going to restrict the width, right? And obviously you're going to need 2 women working on this. And do you remember the sword as well? You need to be able to put the sword all the way through. So if it's 4 meters, you've got to have a 4 meter long piece of wood to go through, which would be unpractical. A 3 meter long piece of wood going through. So that probably the maximum width, really talking about this logically, is 2 meters. And every time you've got to put the sword through. And again, it's probably more practical to have it this width than 2 meters or 3 meters or 4 meters. It's possible, right? But it starts to become impractical the wider it is. The length can be practically unlimited, right? As long as you can wind up the cloth beam above, right? The length can be, and this is the point, when you if you're ever working wool, right? It's a process of adding more of the weft on. It's keep and adding to it, right? You can keep adding to it, right? And then you obviously reconnect the loom weights, and you can keep adding and adding. But obviously the cloth beam, there's only that's going to be quite heavy if you've got like 5 meters wound on the top of that cloth beam. So unlikely to be 5 meters, you know. But so obviously you've got a lot of activity, and you need a lot of width to be able to walk back and forth. So on ancient Greek vases, two weavers, most often women. It says most often women. It's not always women, right? But on these vases, it's saying most often women, are shown working side by side on the warp-weighted loom. And this is usually because most other looms require a resting position or standing or sitting. So obviously don't have the tension if you're sat on the floor, you know. According to Artemidoros, Artemidorus, oh, I gotta say that again. Artemidorus was actually a Greek. He was a Greek writer around AD 100 in Ephesus, which is in Turkey. He wrote. This is very interesting, right? Remember this. This is very important when you have dreams. Artemidorus from Ephesus, he said, if one dreams of a warp-weighted loom, it means an upcoming journey. So if you have a dream of one of these, Pat, you're going to America. If one dreams of any other type of loom, one should expect a rest. In other words, Pat, you're not going. So if you have a dream of these, right? If it's upright, right, you're going on a long journey. If it's lying on the ground, you're having a rest. Remember. I know what's going to happen next week. Pat's going to say, "What was it, Carl? I had a dream about it on the ground." Yeah, that's because you're not going on a journey, Pat. That's why you're in my class. It's a bit obvious. So additionally, extra warp thread can be wound around the weights. So what we need to do is come in with these things. Yeah, they're wound around the weights. That one there, and wound around the weights. That one there. Right. So these are very interesting loom weights. So additionally, extra warp thread can be wound around the weights when a weaver has reached the bottom of the warp, as we've already mentioned, or the weft. The complete section can be rolled around the top beam, and additional lengths of warp or weft threads can be unwound from the weights to continue. This frees the weaver from vertical size constraints. So size isn't everything. Right. So what we're going to do now? We're gonna crack on a little bit more. We've got a little bit more of this, and I think what we did last night, we discussed the spindle whorl as well. But I think what we did a little bit more. Then we had a little bit of a break, and we have to finish tonight. And the reason why we've got to finish tonight is that I'm contracted to do some a reading of a script. So I've got to do that tonight. I've got to do that at 9:15. So I could be at it for hours. So we've got to finish on a good time tonight. Right. So hang on, where's that there? And if we go with that there, there, and right. So what we've got is when we're looking at these are all examples from CYPRUS, right? So all of these have the same purpose. But what we need to think about is that these weights themselves have to be the same weight, right? So if they've all got to be the same weight. It's quite a scientific thing to do, really. But if you're going to use one type of weight, you've got to use these weights at the bottom of the warp weighted loom, for example. Yeah. So what we've got here, these are all from CYPRUS. and the Iron Age loom weights from Cyprus were typically made from clay and were often unbaked, making them fragile and difficult to find. However, lots of the cases are the ones that have actually survived are actually baked, or at least baked in a way. So you've got a truncated pyramidal shaped one in the middle at the bottom there. And it might have a little bit of a flattened top, but basically more of the truncated ones are these ones. They look like little people, you know. You can squint your eye, they look like they're going to come and chase you, you know, coming out of the wallpaper. So these truncated pyramidal flattened tops with a single piercing at the top. Some can be quite, as you've got a range there, you know, we've got a range of different ones there. And some of them can be sort of, you know, quite narrow, you know. Some have got more than one piercing, right? Because look at that one. They've got a decorated one. It's got a head there with that's got 2 holes in it, right? And some can be spools. Like that's a spool, and that's actually got a name written on it. So in other words, it's probably because somebody wanted all the same weights. So they decided to put some kind of name on it, and basically a head like that's quite significant as well. So what we've got is that the weight and width of a loom weight help determine the weight and number of warp fibers. The weight and density of the cloth was determined by the weight and number of the warp fibers. So in other words, if you've got, for example, if you've got, say, I don't know, 50 warp fibers hanging down, so that's you know, that's going to be quite a sizable sort of strong piece of warp weighted cloth, you know, the warp fibers. If they got them quite spread out, then it's not going to be very dense. So the weight and density of the cloth was determined by the weight and number of warp fibers. Different shapes of loom weights could be used together, but shapes, they all have to be the same weight. That's the point. So different shapes of loom weights, but they've all got to be the same weight because everything's got to be tensioned at the same sort of, you know, tensioned at the same level. Because obviously when you tension it, you're going to have all of the wool seemingly the same thickness, the same diameter. That's the point anyway. So what we've got is that all the examples that we're seeing, these ones in particular, come from Cyprus, and we start seeing these arriving from the Bronze Age, and we see a lot of these as well. And the one interesting thing I felt last night when I was reading this was trade in loom weights. People traded loom weights because if you've got a community and you're making a specific type of cloth, right? And you've got to try and mass produce it. So you're going to have, say, 20 people on these warp weighted looms. And I can't imagine they're all going to be women either. So you've got 20 people, right? So that, say you've got 2 people to each loom. So that's 10 people, 10 looms, in other words, 10 looms, 2 people to each loom. And each loom itself used 50 of these, or maybe 60 of these. So, you know, that times 10, that's 600 of these loom weights in you know, one manufacturing area, right? So it's no surprise that these were exported and imported around the Mediterranean Sea. So what you've got examples of these loom weights coming to Cyprus from the Aegean. You know, the Aegean is actually quite some distance from Cyprus, really, you know, mainland Greece and the islands. And so they're actually trading these things. And what we've got is we've got evidence of loom weights that are being found in central Turkey and Syria that don't have any holes in them, but instead the warp fibers are actually tied onto these things, right? So you don't actually need to have them pierced, right? The one on the left there, right? They're actually wound around it, tied on, right? Rather than going through a hole. And some really early loom weights are actually getting from Jordan as well. So what we're going to do now, we'll take a, I don't know, we'll take a, I don't know, a 10-minute break. But we've got to find out if there's anyone wants us to say anything in the for now. So Anne.
The only thing I keep going through my head, my husband, his family, were all weavers in the 18th, 19th century, really. And oh, it's fantastic to have seen I know it was mechanized, obviously this is the amazing thing about weaving is it became mechanized, and how they mechanized it must have been incredible, really, to get all these components to work uh you know in unison and everything. So I think it's interesting to see where it all started. Yeah, and we became in the beginning of this century. We were the biggest producers of cloth. Cotton.
Yes.
And then of course it was taken over by other countries who were selling us they were selling us the cotton, but they started you weaving as well. So India, places like that, and Pakistan, they had all their own weaving equipment. But I don't know why I was thinking of that, because it was just what it became, but from where it started. And it's still going on. I mean, they're still making cloth in the world.
But obviously not in the old ways that we were.
No. But I suppose
Exactly.
it must be sort of made it must be some sort of loom.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
Because I've
obviously
got
back.
like a shuttle, that's used.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh
okay.
yeah,
No,
like the old like yeah, like that was when the technology was like involving little children, sort of picking up
yeah,
the
exactly. It
bits
was
of
really
thread and
bad.
losing
It
their
was
limbs.
really
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
But anyway, oh no, it's good. Yeah, it's good. Those shuttle weights, those weights are good. Those loom weights. It must be good to find them, when you're doing archaeology.
Exactly. And obviously it's evidence that they've got this technology, and that
Yeah,
this is and I think the point I was trying to make earlier on was that this is the people who are able to produce this cloth are as important as all these
yeah,
other experts,
yeah,
the iron founders, the pottery makers, they're
yeah,
as important, because everyone at the end of the day needs clothes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
this is not an easy process to even
No,
explain, to show it, and
no.
you would need lots of practice to be able to do this. You really would.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks anyway. Thanks for doing it.
Okay. Anything from you, Pat, before we have a break?
No, that was interesting. Yes, I like that idea. I had a friend who did that, and she had a pillow on her settee, and I just sort of ignored it. I wove that. I wove it, had to, admire it. Just looked like an old pillow to me, but there we are.
Oh yeah, but she did it.
She did it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
Maury used to weave.
did she? Yeah. It was a
She
big thing in
wove
her living room. It was
something.
like as big as a piano,
Oh,
piano. It was huge,
oh
like a big
gosh,
blanket, I
gosh.
guess.
That must have been a big one. A
Yeah.
big loom.
Yes.
Exactly. Anyway, thanks for that, Pat. Anything from you, Goff?
And what was his name? Jethro Tull?
Jethro.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was the man.
What?
Well, he
Jeff Rotel is still
the
going.
bobbin, didn't he? With the weavers, he was the one that started it all off.
Oh,
Was he?
Yeah, Jethro Tull.
Oh,
I think so.
Good old Jeff Rotel. Exactly.
not
Yeah.
the singer.
There was a
No,
band.
that's
though,
yeah,
a lot.
that's what they based it on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That yeah, very good. It's amazing to think about that was happening in Cyprus and also up in God knows in the UK. I expect in the island. It's amazing.
Mm. Mm.
And have
It
clothes.
is. It is. It is.
And
Right. Anything else, Goff? We'll have a little
No,
break.
no, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll have a 12-minute break. We're back at 8:20.
Okay.
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 Speak to you then. Speak to you
Okay.
then. And tell us about your love life while you two can have a chat about it.
Oh, I'm just going to have a coffee.
Yeah, coffee.
No, I'm not. Mm. Seen any good films?
Talking to me?
Yeah,
Yeah, the Nickel Boys.
the little boys.
The Nickel Boys.
Oh, Nickel Boys. Oh, I knew that one.
Pardon?
I haven't heard of that one.
No, it's not a famous film, but it's a niche for a film.
Yeah, is it? Where did you see it? A chapter or something?
No, I saw it at the Odeon last week.
Oh,
Yeah, it's about two American black boys that go to a remand home. It's a bit dark.
oh,
It's
oh, social commentary.
written by an American author. It's yeah,
Oh, right.
good film.
Hmm.
But there's no big stars in it.
No, no. Oh, but you like to hear about good films, sure. I like to hear about good films.
Well, I'm going to read the book next, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I just started reading again. I can read large print now.
Oh, right, good. Well, I use
Yeah.
Audible. I don't read books now. I use Audible, audio books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very good.
A lot of people do that now, I know.
So I find reading print very difficult now with my eyes. Yeah.
Are your eyes bad?
Yes.
Oh, anything wrong in particular or just
No,
cataracts?
just my eyesight's going. That's all. The old age.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
I can see okay.
Hmm?
I can see okay, but reading is difficult, especially when the print is small, and I find the some of the books the black print is weak. It's
Yeah, this is what my husband was saying. They're just so bad. The print is bad to read.
and also
Isn't it?
they do now. You get they'll print blue on red.
Mm.
stuff like that. And I can't
Mm.
read it, So,
Oh, that's no good.
you go to a restaurant and the lights are down, and you can't see. I have to
Mm.
take my torch with me, to read the menu.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I've
like
got one of these
old, Anna.
magnifiers with a light on it, but it's just the same having a torch,
Just
But we can't give you any read. It's the light then, isn't it? It's the light.
it is the light, yeah. And
Yeah.
we're all getting
That's
old.
what I've got problem with the light.
Yeah, we're just getting older.
No, I got yeah, I am getting old, but I
We
got
all are.
macular degeneration.
Carl, he gets younger,
Oh,
doesn't he?
They can't give me any glasses that will, help me to read the print. Small print.
Well, can't they? I'm a +4.
Oh, where'd you get those from?
Won't get anywhere.
Yeah, I haven't found. I've been looking for
You won't. You
+4.
you get a 3 in an ordinary shop, but if you want +4s or 5s, you have to go online,
Yeah.
or your optician will get them for you.
Oh,
But you have to pay,
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I go to the optician, but I still haven't had a decent pair of glasses.
You want to change your optician.
Yeah. Well, there's not many in Bridgend. Specsavers. I go to Specsavers.
Oh, well, I go to the lady in got my optician in Llantwit. She's very good.
Where?
In Llantwit.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're usually good.
Gwyneth Morgan.
Independent. I had an independent one, but you
Oh,
retired.
they're all independent now.
Well, you know what I mean. Not a franchise, like just.
Oh, I see. They're one of the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah, like I had Robert Parslow in Bridgend, and he was very good.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about him, but he's retired now.
Well, the one-legged donkey.
Not a franchise, like
Who?
I see. They're one of the big ones. Yeah.
What a big one, yeah.
I had Robert Parslow in Bridgend, and he was very good. Who's
Everyone
talking?
he's got a recording.
One-legged donkey.
Franchise,
Hang on, nobody's saying anything.
Carl,
Well,
did you get my post about the Groundhog Day?
oh, shit. Yeah, oh my God. I was going to read that. I'm glad you reminded me. I want to go back and read about the bloody groundhog. Yeah.
I think Pat must know all about that because it's American, that American thing.
Yeah, I didn't follow it.
Oh yeah, Goff. We're gonna look at the groundhog now.
It's a bit
Oh,
rude.
Yeah, Groundhog Day. Here we go. Punxsutawney Fred, right? Punxsutawney Phil, a furry forecaster, has predicted 6 more weeks of winter in North America after seeing his shadow. Is this actually for real? Because this is basically
it's in Philadelphia, and it's called
and
the town is called Gobbler's Knob.
I know it's called Gobbler's Knob. I know it is.
Have you heard of that, Pat?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Have you heard of Gobbler's Knob?
Yeah, amazing.
Basically, he emerged at his stump to chant a Phil from the large crowd on Groundhog Day, a Gobbler's Knob in the town of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. And basically, if you see the film Groundhog Day, right? They go for it. They do in America.
Yeah, I've forgotten what it is. Groundhog Day.
Basically, the film about Groundhog Day is based on. He wakes up the next day and it's the same day as before, and he wakes up like 10,000 times, and he goes through the same day over and over again, and eventually he says, "Oh, sod it," and he helps everybody out, and then eventually he wakes up the next day with the woman of his dreams, and that's it.
It's Bill Murray, isn't it?
Bill Murray. Hang on, can you remind me? Isn't there a Groundhog Day 2 with Murray in it?
Probably, yeah, yeah. But Pat will tell you, Groundhog Day, that's a day in a minute. It's quite a big sort of event, isn't it?
We can celebrate it.
Especially in the Gobbler's Knob.
Well, that's the South, I mean, that's
No, Pennsylvania ain't in the bloody South.
I know that, Pat's not from there.
That's not from the South either.
No,
She's not from Pennsylvania.
But she's not from the bloody South.
Of America. I mean,
I got a cousin in Pennsylvania.
I
got a long lost cousin.
Hang on a minute. Nobody knows who's talking at this minute, right? And if you've got a cousin in Pennsylvania, you know full well that Pennsylvania is not in the South.
Well, I know, but
you do know
they are a bit Republican. No, well, look.
Yeah, just because Pennsylvania voted Republican this time, it didn't last time. It voted
No.
Democrat.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, honestly, I don't know anything about it, but all I know is there's a lot of funny stuff coming out.
Well, I thought we were
Pennsylvania.
in the UK, but when I heard that, and I saw that on the telly, I was amazed.
Oh, by the way, Anne, Jarden online, he's come into the Chepstow show to meet you, and he's basically saying, I hope the live show is in French because I can't understand the Barry accent. And he's also said about you, Anne has been on the drink too, by the sound of it.
Oh, I have had a little bit of wine.
Yeah, well, it's coming through online, and there's like 10 people watching online. There's also the dodgy git, who says hello, and there's another guy called Stephen who's saying, and Black Patch's dog is saying hello on live as well.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. You've got a fan following online, you have, Anne.
I don't know why.
Right, okay. Guys, I'm gonna be finished in 34 minutes. Come on.
Well, what are you talking about then now?
You're the one who's going on about Gobbler's Knob.
Look, you and Goff are on a different planet.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that.
Wouldn't you?
The other way around, to be honest with you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, don't say too much more. Oh, right. Okay. Right. Okay. So back to CYPRUS. So all of this, not this evidence, right? But these are obviously a completely different technology. Then we'll go on to the Mere Lake Village, right? So back to these. These are the artifacts. These are all Cypriot artifacts, anyway. So the Iron Age. When we think of the Iron Age in CYPRUS, is massively based not only on copper, right? Because obviously copper, Bronze Age, and all the rest of it, but and all that production and salt. But the one thing as well is textiles are massive in regards to Cypriot technology in the Iron Age, and would continue to be so. So CYPRUS produced textiles using heavier threads and denser weaves, and this is a lot to do. This is a lot to do with the technology that we've actually just been looking at in regards to the warp-weighted loom, right? And obviously the weighting technology. So obviously what we've got the loom weights on either side there, right? But we've also got the round circular ones in the middle. They're actually spindle wheels, which we'll have a quick look at in a minute. Right. There's something that I'm not going to do last night because I got myself into trouble, right? So evidence for all of this technology comes in the sign of loom weights, right, which are the ones on the left and the right. We also CYPRUS also had the technology of the spindle wheels, lots of spindle wheel evidence on CYPRUS, because basically you put something on the spindle wheel, right, to actually get it ready to go on the good old loom weight. And also they used to beat textiles as well. Unfortunately, when we went on Google last night, and I typed in beating textiles in Cyprus, we actually had something quite dodgy coming up on the screen, and I'm not going to do that tonight. Anyway, so loom weights they get what?
I was going to say they must have very thick, you know, the sheep and the goats or whatever they use must be quite the coarse wool
Yeah, yeah,
to be processed.
yeah. But this is why we're getting. This is why we're sorting out the weft, and
Yeah.
basically, you know, it's being all processed, right? So
Mm.
basically, this process, what you're talking about, is that if you think of this.
Yeah.
Right. This is this is your spindle wool, right? And
Mm.
as you're spinning this, right, you're bringing your yarn down, right?
Mm.
And it's spinning on this little spindle wool. But usually the spindle wools are either made of metal like this, or they're made of clay, or they're made of stone. I think somebody actually mentioned. I think Doff wanted to say something then as well, didn't
No,
he? Oh.
no.
Oh. So when we come back to this, lots of these loom weights are made of terracotta and stone, and have been found at sites dating back to the early Bronze Age, right, and beyond, right. And that is a great image in front of my great grandfather Lloyd George. In the late Bronze Age, loom weights became smaller and lighter, likely due to the increased use of wool. So you're obviously getting more processed levels of wool. And in obviously what we've got is there is a shift towards heavier fabrics with heavier threads and denser weaves as you start to get into better and higher processing on our wonderful loom machines that we've got the evidence for in regards to these loom weights in places like Cyprus. So the loom weights were found, what we're finding thousands and thousands of these across Cyprus. And what you can clearly see is that some of them have got two holes in them, right? And the ones that have got two holes in them, you've got two threads going down to them, right? Whereas you've got one thread going down to these ones. But if you can imagine, all of these have got to be the same weight per machine that you're actually using. Basically, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to embarrass everybody again as we did last night. But beating sites on Cyprus of these beating sites themselves, where you basically find evidence of tools that are actually used to beat fibers in platformed areas, hence known as beating sites, to try and make the fabrics and trying to make the what they're using a little bit softer in regards to the final product you're aiming to produce. And obviously these spindle wools. Now, interesting enough, when I was typing in spindle wools to get these images on the internet, I was quite shocked to find this one on. I found this one on eBay, right? And that was actually for sale. It's an original Ionase Hallstatt spindle wool, and I could have bought that for 150 quid if I had the money, but I haven't got 150 quid to buy that. But it's interesting. This had actually come out of a collection. It was on sale on eBay, and you can actually see that this is actually clearly made of wood, and you've got a wonderful a bronze spindle there. So they are made of various different materials throughout the ages. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to, I think we're going to quickly look. And what I might do is actually, I might get a little video up online where it's actually showing somebody using a spindle wool. So we'll see how that goes now. I've just had to, I just accidentally turned the light off again, so it's all dark here. So I'm just gonna have to put one of the lights on again. I don't know how I've done this again. I put my electricity off again. So there we go. Right, I got light, and then there was light again. Hang on, folks. Right, good. So I might actually get a video of somebody using a spindle wool. So let's just see what we can actually find online. So spindle wools, and we've got. I didn't do this last night. Maybe I should have. So spindle. Let's go to YouTube and see somebody using a spindle wool. And by the way, somebody's disappointed, Anne, that you're not talking at this minute.
Well, someone else said I'm drunk. I wouldn't like to.
And don't worry about it. We all appreciate it. Goff is always disappointed that you didn't actually come to our classes in Lantwick Major. Goff has always said to me, he said, wouldn't it have been a benefit to the class in Lantwick Major to have had you coming along?
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Nobody suggested it.
Yeah, but you know, he didn't know what you were like, you know.
No. I probably thinks. I don't think he thinks the same now.
I'm not saying anything. Right, we're going to type in spindle wool at the top. Spindle. See if we can see somebody using a spindle wool. Michelle can use a spindle wool.
Yeah, I think we've seen it. Didn't we see her do it? Or I've seen it before.
Who we gonna have doing a spindle wool? Hang on a minute. Right, oh, hang on. Should we? There's something. Spindle wool demonstration. This is quite simple, right? There we go.
Oh, spin yarn.
There we go.
Yeah,
Oh, hang on. What's happened?
it's amazing, isn't it?
Hang on. It's gone off.
Oh, well.
Hang on. We're gonna get it back a minute. It just went off a minute. Hang on. I'm sorry about that. Right, here we go. There. Start again. Go.
No, can't see it.
Oh, balls!
I must admit, I didn't
Hang
realise.
on, it came off. Anne, shut up. You're doing my head in now. Right, okay. Right, hang on. We're gonna share the screen now. Okay. Don't. We're not going to do that lecture that nobody actually saw any images at all in the whole lecture because nobody actually told me that they weren't seeing anything. Goff.
I don't like to interrupt.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. Right. Are we ready? Right.
Yeah.
Go.
That's it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There it is. Look at
It's
that.
like it's like unraveling your telephone wire.
Isn't that great?
Well, not really, because there's a blooming thing on. Oh, right.
Well, go on.
Something just
She's getting it
blocked
straight
it.
off the wall. It's lush, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. But I like to see
like
them pulling it off the,
All
piece.
right, we'll find a bloody another one. All right, then.
Piece.
Oh, Christ sake. I tell you what, right, you can't, I tell you what, I'd hate to be married to you. You can't bloody please you at all. Right, okay, let's just do another one. There we go. A drop spindle, there we go.
Yeah. He's a man.
Oh, I know he's a bloody man. What else is he? There you go, look at that.
Mm.
There he is.
Mm.
Get on with it.
Is he Swedish?
Go on. He's not bloody Swedish, he's American. There you go.
Oh,
There you go. And watch. Go
yeah.
on, and watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet he's butch, isn't he?
Nah.
There we go. There you go. Go on. Then you're ready to spin. Go on, fibre prep. Go on. Get on with it. Flipping heck. It's all freaking day. All right. Oh, but there we go. There, go for it. Go. Go. Oh, you see. There. Oh, for God's sake. I wish you'd hurry up. There. Oh.
Oh,
Anyway, you get an idea, don't you? Yeah.
yeah.
Right, you've got an idea, right? This guy's doing my head in. Well, go on, go. and you can keep spinning. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Spinning. That job done. Right, guys, you've had a bit of spindle whirling spinning. This guy's doing my head in. Right, okay, right, that's it. Good. He's not going out there. Right, thank God he's gone. Right, okay, the last bit we're going to do now, we've done all the spindles and stuff, right? So that's brilliant. So we're going to look at something that's going to help us with next week. So there we go. Next, let's just do it. Right, okay, there. Good. This didn't used to happen when I used to do live classes.
No. Oh God, you must be joking.
Oh, yeah. We used to really like our live classes in Lantwick Major. Right. So next week, this leads us on to next week. Next week we're doing Glastonbury Lake Village, right?
I've been there.
I know you've been there with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a little quick drive around.
Yeah, I know it was. Yeah. Next week we're doing Glastonbury Lake Village, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about Mere Lake Village, right? Now, Mere Lake Village is in Somerset, and is an Iron Age settlement on the Somerset levels at Mere, which is basically a skip and a jump from Glastonbury, right? So there's Glastonbury and Mere Lake Villages. There's two of them, right? Now, so in prehistoric times, right? There were two villages situated within the now drained Mere Pool, Meare, not the Mere space station, Mere Pool, occupied at different times between 301 BC on the 14th of October to AD 100 on the 15th of September, similar to the nearby Glastonbury Lake Village. Investigations of the Mere Pool indicates that it was formed by the encroachment of raised peat bogs around it, particularly around 1,000 years BC. So what we're talking about, right, is it's drying out. But this landscape is extremely flooded and boggy. If you go to the top of Glastonbury Tor in the winter months, you can look around and you can see the extensive flooded landscape. In fact, Glastonbury Tor was the only thing sticking out at one time in the Iron Age when most of the landscape was completely flooded. Back to Mere Pool and the two villages on it. So the investigation of Mere Pool found that the muds and the detritus that was building up around these two platforms for these two villages at Mere, right, were up to 2 meters deep, right? So it's 2 meters deep of sludge, which had developed around these two platform villages on the Mere Lake. And the pool at one time was up to 2 miles long and 1 mile wide, all associated with the Glastonbury flooded landscape. So the villages were built on what could be said a morass, which was built on the raised peat bogs of artificial timber, a filled brushwood. So giving you an effect very similar to this type of settlement, right? Now, obviously, this is very stylized, but you can obviously get an idea what these villages looked like. So to build up the platforms that they required, they used various brushwood, bracken, various clays, muds, animal waste, human waste, whatever they could get a hold of, rubble and clay. And the two villages, east and west, within the Mere Pool appear to originate from a collection of structures erected on the surface of the dried peat, such as tents, windbreaks, and animal folds, to eventually create sizable villages with up to 60 huts or 60 buildings in each. And this was in the Iron Age. Now, one question that somebody had last night, which was very, very fitting, right, which is something that I've been trying to lead people to sort of think about, is as follows. If, for example, people were living on these lakes, why? When in fact they could have lived on dry land, many of these people. In the old days, archaeologists used to argue that there wasn't a lot of land around in the Iron Age for people to live. That's why they lived in these boggy landscapes. But my counter argument is that today we've got about nearly 70 million people in Britain. Back then in Iron Age Britain, so we're talking about around the birth of Christ, you're talking about the population gradually growing somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million people, right? If you spread those people all the way across Britain, they're really thinly spread. So there wasn't a problem with getting hold of dry land to live, right? So why they were living in these lakeland areas is, it is really interesting, really an intriguing question, right? So anyway, cracking on.
Well, they like a tour, didn't they? They were
Yeah, but
spiritual.
there's lots of people living in these landscapes. If you go down to Must Farm, for example, in Peterborough, and you go down to Flag Fen, do you know what I mean? There's lots of them, but I know what I mean. Yeah. So unfortunately, to make these platforms a little bit more higher and raised and a little bit more drier and so on, away from the boggy, peaty landscape, clay was later spread over the peat, providing raised stands for occupation, industry and movement. And in some areas, thicker clay spreads accommodated halves built of clay or stone. More recent studies have shown that the villages were formed by laying dried clay over the sphagnum moss of the bog. So in other words, what they're doing, they're trying to make as much land as they possibly can do on this very boggy, wet landscape, when in fact all the way around them, you could say is fairly dry land. So you're just thinking, well, why? Again, that big question, why? Anyway, so the big problem is with this site, as opposed to next week's site, when we actually look at the site of, what we do next week. We can look at the Glastonbury site, and we look at all the timbers and stuff. This is just an introduction to the Glastonbury site. In fact, this is me instead, but it gives you an idea. Little has been found of the walls or roofing material, which has led to speculation that the huts were in fact tent-like structures, which may have only been occupied on a seasonal basis. Or maybe they weren't, So the lake villages in the area were connected by tracks with names like the Sweet Track, right? But the Sweet Track was a little bit earlier, but it gives you a similar type of thing. So they had lots of these various different tracks linking these types of settlements through many thousands of years, and particularly in this period, going up beyond the birth of Christ up to about AD 100, right? Similar types of tracks were being used across this landscape, dotted across this landscape, including the Glastonbury Lake Village, which we're doing next week. So the purpose of these structures was to enable easier travel between the settlements. Now we're gonna mention a little bit about the about the archaeology, and then that's basically where we're going to call it a day tonight. So, and people are still on. Somebody said something about you online, Anne, which is rude, which I won't say. But anyway, so the Mere villages, the two of them, were discovered in 1895, but excavation did not start until 1908. It was lots of little bits of evidence around, lots of bits of wood and timber and stuff. So they actually started excavating within the landscape in 1908. And what if I take us onto Google, as I did last night, right, to sort of give you a little bit more imagery. If you type in on the internet, you type in Mere Lake Village. Hang on, Mere Lake Village. There we go. Images. That's the one there. Right, okay. That's basically what it looks like today. Right. It's basically this sort of greeny, drained landscape. And the problem is with any of the archaeology that's actually survived, it's all the moisture and stuff is being drained out of all the delicate timbers and stuff, which is in a similar situation directly at the Glastonbury Lake Village. So in the 1970s, the Somerset Levels project undertook further excavations on the western of these two sites, followed up by other work of the eastern area of these two sites. And they've done lots of penetrating work and getting coring evidence from across the archaeology. So archaeologists uncovered several hearths in the buried ruins of one of the houses. They also found several lias limestones lying around the fire, including one vertical stone, which may have been a backrest. Somebody resting against a stone, a vertical stone. Very, very interesting that. And so the archaeologists also found several artifacts, including cut pieces of red deer antler, pieces of iron, the rim of a bronze bowl, a spiral finger ring made from bronze, and a decorated amber bead, all part of the Iron Age fabric of life. Bone and antler weaving combs, again, we got weaving combs, so they're weaving, have been found in large numbers, suggesting that braid production may have been important. And finally, the site was used during the Iron Age for, wait for it, glass working and manufacture, specializing particularly in bead production, right? I'll just quickly say that some of these beads are now actually on display in the National Museum of Wales, which is a bit weird because this is in Somerset. But one of the most in particular points with that people in Iron Age Britain are actually making glass, right? That's quite revolutionary, right? Because even in the Roman era, after AD 43, glass manufacture was fraught with problems in Britain. But now we're saying that they were actually working and producing glass objects at this site at Mere near Glastonbury in the Iron Age. So what we're going to do, we're going to call that a day now because we're going to be looking in great detail of the similar site at Glastonbury, right? And if I type in quickly Mere Lake Village archaeology, right? If usually when you type in archaeology, it always actually comes up with Glastonbury, right? You can see it's dominated by Glastonbury, right? All this stuff here, because this is what we're going to look at next week, right? This is the type of thing in a little bit of a way they were finding at Mere, but this is the archaeology that we'll actually be looking at Glastonbury next week. So we'll leave that until then. So and this is what they're seeing. They're seeing lots of sort of things drying out. So these are the timbers that they would have excavated 100 years ago, and they're now drying out, so a lot thinner, right? And there is a little map where it's got the Mere pool, right? And it's got Glastonbury there, and it's got the Glastonbury Lake Village, and it's got the Mere Lake Villages here, right? So again, this is something we'll be thinking about next week. And obviously the tracks there, it's got the Abbott's Way, it's got the Sweet track there dating back to 5,700 years ago. But what they're doing at the Lake Village in Glastonbury and Mere pool dates to 2,000 years ago. So, but people are living within this boggy landscape for thousands and thousands of years, linking little villages and settlements, and they're getting out to these little islands like Westray and Mere when the rest of the landscape's flooded. So this is all sort of part of the fabric of the prehistoric world, which we will continue to look at, and we will look at this and Glastonbury and the Lake Village in 1 week's time. And what we're going to do there, I'm going to mention Anne. I'm going to mention Anne for anyone else who's watching that we've got the first of the live shows in approximately 9 days in Lampeter. If anyone's interested in tickets, and they can have the first dibs on seeing the Mary Lloyd. We're doing some last touches on the Mary Lloyd with its eyes and its ears, and we've got the cloak, and the Mary Lloyd is ready to go. So Anne, make sure the 4 tickets that you've got for the show that you managed to get some people to go with you.
Well,
Don't seem too
I'm
enthusiastic,
trying.
Anne. Yeah, you definitely are.
I told you before, it's my mother-in-law's 99th birthday on that day.
Oh my bloody God.
I mean, I don't know how I'm going to, it won't matter, but it will, you know what I mean? It's in the evening, isn't it? So
Well, take her out the day before. It's fine.
yeah.
She's not going to want to come out in the evening.
No.
Oh, by the way, Anne, I would agree with one comment. Anne's hair, she looks hot. Right, your hair looks pretty. Yeah, your hair looks good, doesn't it, Goff?
Pat,
Oh,
talking
wait.
about.
No, your hair, Anne.
I
Right.
know, but I just put it up in a bubble.
Oh,
Oh,
anyway,
never
right.
mind. But I was going to say, maybe they put the cattle or the sheep or whatever on the land. You know, the for grazing and everything, and
Yeah.
they just found that living on the bogs was more sustainable for them, and they were protected from the wolves and things. Oh God, I don't know.
And
If
Labour
they were
voters. Yeah,
wolves,
exactly.
they were.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't know. But yeah, it's
Exactly.
interesting to try and work out why.
Exactly. Why, for
Why.
example, we wonder always, Anne.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, then. Anything else from you, Anne?
No, that's all for now. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go through the mass numbers. Nobody's got anything to say online except somebody wants your phone number, Anne. Goff, anything you want to say?
No, well, maybe next week we'll find out all about it. So I'm looking forward to that.
Glastonbury Lake Village is all the timber, all it drying out, and what they're finding, the artifacts, the
Yeah.
arguments about the archaeologists, and the reconstruction of a building there as well.
Hold me back. I'll be there.
Good,
Ooh.
don't hold you back. Exactly. There you go.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. And Goff, right? I'm going to be absolutely delighted to do. I'm going to try and scout and find as many images as possible to do on my daily Roman video. Which I'm going.
Yeah.
Hey.
I want my money's worth. Yeah. Loads of
Yeah. Well.
videos.
Exactly. Of course, you know, you should get your money's worth on my videos, Goff. They're there. They're there. So okay then. Right, last person to say anything. Basilica YouTube. Right, Pat.
No, I'm fine. Thank you. Interesting. Thank you very much. Yes, I'll
It's
be here next week.
good. It's been a delight having you on. Obviously, we managed to do it a little bit quicker this week because we haven't had Henry here, right?
Yeah.
And Richard, you know, he's as gobby as anything, isn't he, Richard?
Oh, yeah.
What does Richard say? Oh, you know, that was good. You know, that was all right. I like that. You know, that was good.
He did put a very interesting piece on Facebook about his grandfather and how you know where they came from and
He's still alive, his
driving
grandfather.
trains in Barry.
Hang on a minute. He was wandering through the streets in chains.
No, I said driving trains in
Right.
Through the
Barry.
streets of Barry? I don't think that's allowed. Right. Okay. Anyone else want to say anything else?
Yeah. Good night.
Okay. Brilliant.
Good
Anyway,
night.
Josh and Anne and Pat, it's been an absolute delight tonight. It's been an absolute blast. And no
Good
doubt
night.
I will see you
Bye.
all next
night.
week. Okay.
Good night.
So,
Okay.
night, Pat. Night, Goff. And
Night.
night, Anne, and anyone else who knows me. Right. Thank you very much. And thanks for your support. See you next week. And Pat, thanks for putting the membership over.
Okay.
you.
Night.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Night, Pat. Right, guys, those who are watching me on YouTube, right? It's very, very important. And we've got this Steve Lashbrook. Steve, it's an absolute delight to have you online. You know what? I'm gonna actually do you know what? Anyone who follows my channel, please make sure that you continue to do so, because we've got our daily Roman video thing. My daily Roman video thing is a minute long. I try to do one a day, but it's really difficult these days. So much going on. But the one tomorrow, the Roman video one tomorrow is about the Roman basilica structure that's been found, part of the Roman Basilica wall that's been found in London, and it's been on the news today and all the rest of it, and it's great. So what I'm going to do is try and scout and get as many images of that and put it into a 1-minute video tomorrow, and that'll be absolutely great. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And those who actually follow my channel will know that we do our little Roman video every day, and the Roman video that we did today was looking at the Roman temple at Kyle-Went. Now, anyone who is interested, and whoever's still watching, right? Anyone who is interested, that at my live show, those interested in Romans will be looking a little bit about Kilian, right? Obviously, there'll be lots of other prehistoric things. And I don't know if Jarden's still there, but Jarden, I'm really looking forward to seeing you at Chepstow. And obviously, Dodgy Git, you need to come along. We need to see you, Dodgy Git. And I'm sure that Black Patch's dog was on as well tonight, but for some strange reason he disappeared. I don't know. So what we're going to do, we're going to call it a night now, because I've got to finish at 9, because I've got to do rehearsal in 1/4 hour. So I'm just going to have a little lie down, I think, actually. And I don't watch them. The Romans are well overrated. Hey, Black Patch's dog, shh. Don't mention the Romans. I got away with it. Okay, peace. Aqueducts. Who would think about them, right? Unfortunately, Black Patch's dog. When I actually do my Roman stuff, right, it's going to be highly based on the interchange between Iron Age Britain and the Roman world. So hopefully we'll still have you there, right? Yes, but that's not yet. So don't lose your interest. And actually, Black Patch's dog, right? What type of archaeology would you like me to do as a daily series? Because it's like, well, you do have a say, Black Patch's dog, because you've been, you're one of my good supporters on you. So if I did, if you did want me to do something specific, Black Patch's dog, it needs to be like a theme thing, like all the Iron Age forts in Britain. It'd be a bit sort of, it needs to be a bit more varied, actually. I don't know, Anglo-Saxon churches in Britain. That would be a good one. There's 50 odd sites with Anglo-Saxon church remains. I think there's probably a few more, actually. You could do sort of distinctive stone bits of castles in the medieval period, but specifically looking at Roman remains, and is like quite varied, actually. So Stephen, I look forward to meeting up in the near future. Great work, Stephen. I'm going to do the uncouth thing, guys, and I'm going to do the uncouth thing, and I'm just going to do what all people do on YouTube, right? If anyone wants to send a donation over, everything is really appreciated. And I'm actually putting my PayPal link there. So if anyone wants to send over any donations, it's really appreciated. It really deeply is. And if anyone's still doing Buy Me a Coffee, right? It's Buy Me a Coffee. And that's is that Buy Me a Coffee? Hang on a minute. But I haven't written this for a while. Buy Me a Coffee, and it's .com. And if anyone wants to send a donation over from that, then that's great. I thought I'd mention all this, because I don't mention this a lot, which is a bit of a shame, really. And everyone who's pressed the like button, everyone, yes, press the like button, guys. Yeah, make sure you press the like button. And anyone who we've also got a join in thing on here as well. We used to have 12 people who are actually members, but it's a bit weird, the algorithms and stuff, but that's great. So if anyone joins, then joining is £1.99 a month, and that all helps. Every single penny helps. But I'm going to have to go, guys. And really appreciate your support. We're back next week on Tuesday at 7 o'clock ish, just after 7. Try and sign in probably about 7:10. Wednesday, usually roughly about the same time, 8 or 7:10, 7:10 on Wednesday. Look out for odd other things like my live as well. And the other thing is we're actually got the production company now. And if anyone wants to watch any of our production company stuff, it's usually based around something that we're filming in connection with the Walking Dead UK. And it's called, if anyone wants to join our other, subscribe to our other channel, that's free. So I'm not asking for any money for that. But if anyone wants to give a little bit of a support to, I'm typing this in. This is on YouTube. This is on YouTube. This is the, it's called the Walking Dead UK, right? So we've got Walking Dead UK. So if anyone wants to subscribe to that, I'd be really, really grateful. Right, I'm going to go now. Really nice to meet you, Stephen, and Black Patches Dog, and Jarden, and the Dodgy Kit. Really nice to have you all on tonight. And I don't want to go, but I've got to. So again, many, many thanks. And I'm going to have a lie down in a dark room. Well, I'm in the room now. Just lie down and just. I'm going to try and do more sort of pseudo live things. So if you've got the bell thing, it crops up on your doodah. Right, that's it. And oh yes, it's I'm going to try and get to. We're over 3,000 subscribers now, which is really good. So wouldn't it be great to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the year? That's a big ask. But things might have developed with my life by then, and I might be doing a lot more TV stuff. So anyway, I'm going to go now. So as we say in Cymru, Wales, Ymar o Hyd. Again, don't forget my live show and live show tickets for Chepstow, which is on the 22nd, live show on the 7th, the 22nd of March. This is the 7th of March, which is Ystrad Gunlais. We've got next week, which is Lampeter, the 22nd. And if anyone wants to buy tickets for any of that, it's I will just put the link in finally before I go. And anyone wanting tickets for the show, it would be great to actually have you booking on that. So studio. Thank you. Well, I'm off now, and lots to think about. And diolch yn fawr i chi. Ymar o hyd. Gwelwch chi eto. Ac gwelwch chi eto nesaf dydd Mercher. Ac diolch yn fawr i chi. So I'll see you guys next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. And thank you very much. I'm off. Like and subscribe. Thank you. Night. Oh, you look in the chat box a minute. Not in that chat box window 1. I'm going to do all this. Nothing in that chat box window 2. Nothing in that chat box window 3. Nothing in that chat box 4, 5. Nothing in that chat box 6, 7, 8.